I am excited to be here with Art Alexakis, the frontman of multi-platinum alt-rock band Everclear. They are currently getting ready to release their live album, Live at the Whiskey-A-Go-Go, on September 8th, and then starting a 30-day North American tour with the Ataris and Pink Spiders. Art, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thank you for having me
I,
on.
it's an honor for me to speak to you. I've been listening to your music most of my life, so it's a pleasure to be able to speak with you today.
Thanks. I
So first,
appreciate it.
the band's 30th anniversary. So why was this? Did this feel like the right time to release a live album?
I don't know that it was, but it sure seems like it was. It seems like it's coming at an advantageous time. Last year, as you said, it was our 30th anniversary, and our last show of the year was going to be a show, not not a very big venue, but a legendary venue that I never played before, the Whiskey-A-Go-Go. And I got a call about 3 or 4 weeks before it from a friend of mine at a small record label he used to be in Capitol back in the day, and he asked if I was interested in making a new record for his label, Sunset Boulevard Records. I'm like, not at all. I'm not interested in making a record. I go, I've been turning down major labels, man. I don't want to make a record. And he's like, well, what about a live record? And I'm like, what do you got in mind? He said, live recorded at the Whiskey. I'm like, that's a really good idea. So we did. I recorded it. I paid for it, going into it. Because usually when you make a live album, you record like 4 or 5 shows, right?
Mhm.
That's what people usually do. And they get versions, and they'll take versions from different shows, and they'll cheat and they'll tune them, and they'll add instruments and do all sorts of stuff. This was live, one show. If it sucked, I was gonna just eat the money it cost to record it. I just call it a day. But it came out really great, and we recorded like 19 songs, 18, 19 songs, and I think 15 made the record. So that's pretty cool.
So what went into your decision about what to keep, what to leave off the record?
Just what sounded the best, really. I mean, we had to do the hits, right? The hits have to be there. The fan favorites have to be there. But then I went through everything and listened to it, and I'm pretty immediate. I don't like get too anal about criteria and minutia. It either hits me viscerally, like, yeah, that's good. I don't have to fix that. That sounds great. I like my voice on that. Oh man, that bass part's really off. I can fix the bass part. That's not a big deal. Oh, but the vocals aren't great. If there's like 4 or 5 things not great in the song, then that's an obvious one. But most of them sounded pretty good. We could have done all of them, but the label told me they wanted 14 songs, so I gave them 14 songs. After I gave them the 14 songs, they're like, well, where are the other ones? Let's do all of them. I'm like, too late, Ace. I didn't, I didn't mix them. You have to give me some more money and more time. And so we threw a couple of recorded tracks on there. Song called Year of the Tiger that we had recorded on our own last year, and then a song called Sing Away, which was an Everclear covering a song that was on my solo record that came out in 2019, and
I
much
definitely
more.
Talk about those two studio tracks a little bit later. But
Okay.
next, worry about like what to you makes a great live album? Like what makes a live album special when a band does one to you?
Well, that's a really good question because back when I grew up I got a few years on you. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, rock albums used to get played on the radio all the time. Live albums got played all the time. Frampton Comes Alive, Kiss Alive, Kiss Alive 2, all these great live albums. And it's no secret now. People in the industry know that those albums, most of them weren't recorded live at all. They used the live sound, but for the most part, they were recorded in on a sound stage, and This is a live album that's more akin to like my favorite live albums from the early 70s. Like I guess the king of them would be um the Who Live at Leeds, which is
Mhm.
just, you know, they're improvising as they go. The guitar is just so distorted and big and just hammering, and the crowd's very polite, you know, it's an English crowd. So they're not making noise between the songs, but after the songs they go crazy. Also, of course, one of the most famous albums of all time was Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. And that I know the guys in Cheap Trick, and they're like, that's pretty much live, 100%. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool because that sounds pretty great. But a lot of those albums weren't. So to me, what makes a live album special is if it captures the band live, because I always looked at live and studio recordings as two different animals. On a studio recording, you can do multi-tracks, you can put subliminal stuff in there, you can use all sorts of production techniques and tricks and bells and whistles to make the album more special because you're listening to it over and over and over and over again. Um, a live show is something that's much more two-dimensional. You see it and you hear it, and it's visceral. And to make that special live, I think you have to augment it with mixing and, you know, round out the bottom, add EQ, stuff like that. But if you're adding like pro, pro tooling or tuning all the vocals or all the instruments, then it's not a live album. That kind of takes the soul of it. I left this pretty pretty sloppy. You know, there's
Mhm.
notes in there that I'd like to take back, but I don't want to because that's what happened. That's what was real, you know. And I listened to it the other day for the first time in a few months because when you're making a record, you listen to it every day. It's hard to be objective. And then I took like 4 months off, and I got the vinyl. They sent me the vinyl in advance of the vinyl, and I put that on, and I'm just like, this sounds awesome, especially on vinyl. So I'm pretty stoked, especially double vinyl for a kid from the 70s. That's pretty cool to have
Mhm.
a double vinyl record.
That is nice. So I know you had Jim Kaufman with you producing and mixing the album. As
Yeah.
far as I saw, you hadn't worked with him before. What led him to be the right choice? And do you look for something different in a producer for a live album versus what you would look for in a studio recording?
Actually, that's not true. He
Okay.
recorded those studio tracks. We
Okay.
we met him. We started working with him about 8 months before that album, and we
Mhm.
we recorded Year of the Tiger with them. And I had
Mhm.
known Jim through mutual friends and people from our fellowship and stuff. And he's I wanted to work with him at his little
Mhm.
studio in Santa Monica. And we did, and we loved it. And we recorded another song, um, the Sing Away, that's on the record as well. Um, and when it came time to do the live album, I'm just like, "You want to come down to Whiskey and record it?" He's like, "Yeah." And he came down and recorded it, and then we worked on it and mixed it and fixed a few things here and there. And then he was mixing it and compressing it and mastering it while I was in uh, Australia in February, and we turned it in March on time. And then because that sounded so good, the label hired him to produce a live album for Basketball, which is coming
Oh,
out on their label this fall as well. So
I
yeah,
love that. I saw them at the Whiskey some years ago.
yeah, I just got it. They're great, dude. We took them on tour in '98. They're great, and we've taken them on tour in 2017 and a couple other times too. They're great. But we took them on tour last year, 2022.
Nice. So yeah, let's talk about those two studio tracks. The first one, "Year of the Tiger," came out last year, and it's sort of in the tradition of some of your more political tracks. Like going back as far as like "Jesus Was a Democrat" and some of those classics. But something that really stood out to me is the line, "We have to change the stupid way we show our stripes," which to me I interpreted as like you kind of looking for a way like we have to end this division. We have to somehow stop some of this infighting. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear more about your kind of the thoughts that went into this track, what kind of meaning you really want to convey with it, and of course it pairs well with your current hat, the tiger hat.
I bought this hat because we were going to do a video for it. I bought 4 of them, one for all the guys, and we were going to ride around with like cop shades, you know, like mirrored shades. This is the whole video. It's just us playing live, you know, acoustically, with like tiger strap guitars and drums, and then the guys in tiger suits would be tackling guys with mega hats in like sheep suits. That was the idea. I still think it'd be an awesome video. It's actually the super way we show our stripe. So it's not stripes, it's stripe. And stripe is meant to be like, that's what makes us tigers. So instead of showing ourselves in a stupid way, keeping that inside and showing ourselves in a way that really resonates with who we are. And the stupid way we eat the hype, you know, that's pretty self-explanatory after 2021, you know, 2020, 2021. So, you know, it's when I recorded that song and I played it for a friend of mine who's a singer of a 90s band that we play stuff for each other all the time. He's like, I'm like, it's kind of a protest song. And he listens to it and he goes, man, you're full of shit, Art. It's not a protest song. That's a fight song. You're trying to pick a fight. He goes, I know you. I've known you for 20 years. You're not one of those hippy dippy protest kind of guys. You're just trying to start shit with people. And I'm going, yeah, that's pretty much true. It is a fight. It is. It's a fight song. It is.
So how has it worked? Has it gotten that kind of people riled up?
You know, I got some reviews. I mean, you know, we're a band that's been around 30 some years. It's not like we're right on the tips of everyone's tongue. No, but our fans really dug it. It got a lot of people talking about it online for a while there when it first came out. It didn't really get the release it deserved. I wish we had done a video for it. I think people would have responded to it if it had more YouTube visibility. But yeah, I could do it. I could do it now. It doesn't really matter. I'm not worried about it. I did the song because it's fun. It's fun to play. We play it live. We're gonna play it live on this tour. This tour that starts September 6th with the Ataris and the Pink Spiders. And we're gonna play our other new song, which I guess we could talk about. Sing Away.
Yeah, so that song, I mean, first, it's a really moving song, really beautiful. I mean, the original version on Sun Songs is great. So I guess why did you want to bring it into like a full band context? Was it just because you wanted to bring it to the tour, or is there something else you kind of wanted to capture from the song that you didn't feel was in the original?
Well, I love the original, and it fits on the solo record. I like where it's at, and I like everything about it. But a couple of the songs on that album felt like they could be Everclear songs. Some of them weren't. Most of them weren't, but some of them felt like they could have been Everclear songs. So I played it for the guys, you know, and told them what I wanted to do with it, and we rehearsed it for about an hour or two, and we went into gyms and recorded it that day, and recorded everything: vocals, guitars, overdubs, everything. And I think it sounds great.
Was it the story in Sing Away, was it inspired by any true story and one you know, or is just sort of a
People, yeah, I mean, I know some people lost kids to suicide, friends, mutual acquaintances, and I had read, like I do a lot of times, I'll take things from real life and I'll mix them with things that I've read from real life, but didn't happen to me. I read about this little boy who was 9 years old, and because of congenital disease, he had to be on a colostomy bag. And kids at school were teasing him so bad about it that he came home and he got his dad's gun and shot himself. And that just broke my heart, my wife's heart, and just about anybody who read it. And it's just like, you know, we got to, it just inspired me to write it. I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I wasn't trying to make a political statement. It made me feel, how would that I feel if that was my kid? And my daughters have been bullied and had thoughts of hopelessness and anxiety and depression, and as have I, you know, and it's just something that I wanted to write about, because that's catharsis for me. When I'm hurting about something, I write about it. And I think it's a song. The video is really intense. We shot it last Tuesday. It needs a little work. I've got to make some notes today, but it'll be done by the end of the week, I'm sure.
I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Let's change the tone a bit. Let's talk about the upcoming tour with the Ataris and Pink Spiders, two great bands. Actually saw the Ataris earlier this year at the World Tour when they celebrated their 20th anniversary. What led you to choose these two groups to open for you? They're both kind of different generations. Well, I know you've done a lot of these Summerland tours and kind of tours with some of the bands that you kind of came up with.
Well, you know, and we toured with Stank and a couple other bands that came from the had their big hits in the 2000s, as did the Ataris, and the Pink Spiders came up about that time. Bands of the 90s, just like we were influenced by bands of the 80s and the 70s. And I think it's all in a change. I think just great rock and roll bands. Call it power pop, call it pop punk, whatever you want to call it. It's just great rock and roll bands.
Now, you just mentioned how you've had some different bands are influenced by groups like you. Have you met some of these younger bands and they ever want to, have you write with them, collaborate, produce one of their albums? Do you get any of those kind of offers?
Yeah, I've gotten stuff like that. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Nothing's really come of it, but it's fun to do.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Well, I know you're a really busy man, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I am planning on being at the October 9th show, so I'm really looking forward to that.
October 9th. Oh, you're in LA. Yeah, that's Monday the 9th. That's going to be fun. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and do you usually like a set list throughout your tour? Do you like to change things up per city, or?
We have a set list that's pretty much everything, same starting song, same ending song, got to hit all the hits. But there's about 3 or 4 songs within the set that we change up from time to time, maybe more. If we get requests and we know it and it fits in the set, we'll put it in there 99 times out of 100.
My personal request is one of my favorite songs you ever wrote, A Beautiful Life from Slow Motion Daydream. I know a bit more of an obscure one, but.
No, that's cool. We don't play that live, unfortunately. But you know what we do? The only song we really play off that record is Blackjack sometimes. We'll play Blackjack. So,
I mean, I think that was very.
I really like Beautiful Life. That's a great song.
Yeah, that one. I also really like Hater from the 1 or 2 albums after that one, but that's always been a really fun one.
That's a fun song. We played that before. We might have to break that out. Maybe we'll have that ready by LA. I won't promise you, but we'll think about it.
If you do, I'll be cheering the audience. But
awesome.
Thank you for taking the time, Art. And once again, looking forward to the release on September 8th of Live at the Whiskey-A-Go-Go, and seeing you guys on tour coming up soon.
All right. Thanks, man. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye. Thanks.